Good afternoon and welcome to the ribbon cutting ceremony for the New England Center and Home for Veterans Permanent Supportive Housing and Recapitalization Project. On behalf of the Chairman of the Board, Mr. Joe Albanese, and the Center's Board of Directors, it is my honor to welcome and thank you in celebration of this milestone and to recognize the distinguished speakers and public leaders here with us this afternoon. Congressman Lynch, Governor Baker, Speaker DeLeo, Mayor Walsh, Secretary Sutters, Senator Dorsina Forey, Representative Paracella, Chief Dillon, Secretary Urania, Commissioner Sterling, Vice Admiral Massenberg, government officials, community and business leaders, distinguished guests, veterans, and ladies and gentlemen. Please stand as Damage Controlman First Class James Huff sings our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much, Petty Officer Huff. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Andy McCauley, the Chief Executive Officer and President of the New England Center and Home for Veterans.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would also like to welcome all of you here this afternoon and thank you for coming and helping us mark and celebrate this important and happy milestone for the project, for the New England Center and Home for Veterans, and for veterans overall. You know, it was almost 4 years ago in August of 2013 when we were first applying to the City of Boston for the initial approval to just commence the development work for this project. The members of the Boston Redevelopment Authority Review Board asked me just one question when I stood before them. They asked me whether we would be able to continue to serve veterans and provide support while we accomplished the construction of the envisioned project. My answer was a confident and unequivocal yes. Now, I'm not sure that I really had that strong confidence in my answer at the time, certainly as I meant to convey, or perhaps it was a confidence born of ignorance. It has very much been a complex challenge over the last 2 years. But because of the remarkable and dedicated work of the project team, the staff of the center, the assistance of our community partners, we have completely renewed this 100-year-old building from its roots to its roof, and not one veteran service was interrupted, nor any veteran displaced from their home, either permanent or transitional. Now, that is not to say that routine and life here were not disrupted and made uncomfortable, sometimes very uncomfortable at times. Anyone who has had a contractor in their home can attest to that fact. I must credit the patience and forbearance of the veterans living here and receiving services here at the center over the last 2 years, who graciously and selflessly endured the work of this invasive project so that generations of veterans to come will have this new and invaluable resource in their time of need. We've gathered this afternoon to officially mark the completion of the construction and to open the center after its transformational renovation, to figuratively and literally cut the ribbon. However, it is pretty clear, without looking too closely around you, that there is work here on the project that remains. Some of it is behind the curtains and banners. There's a hole up there actually behind the flag. And some you can see it right in the front of the building. You can see the scaffolding is still there. It is true that we have some important finishings and touch-ups to complete. But I would also offer that, as I said, the center has never actually closed. It has remained open for service and support. And that the most important and impactful areas of this new building and this new Veterans Center, the apartment homes, the new classrooms, the new dormitories, the new medical clinic, the new counseling spaces, have all been completed and have been open for months, some for more than a year. They have been open and working and enabling the center staff to make real and positive impacts in veterans' lives, and they have been serving as new and modern supportive homes to veterans. So although we do have just a little more to do here, I believe that today is an appropriate and a great time to mark an opening of an outstanding resource for veterans, a visionary accomplishment of this community, this city, this Commonwealth, and our nation. The project team, the center's partners, and the staff here at the New England Center have accomplished the more than 2 years of work and construction to effect this remarkable transformation. And today we are here to mark that. But mostly today we are here to recognize, honor, and thank those people and institutions that have made this project and the day-to-day work of the New England Center possible. We are here to hear from strong and visionary public leaders that ensure that Massachusetts and the city of Boston lead this nation in supporting veterans and the community's most vulnerable citizens. To thank the original founders of the center, and we have Mr. Mark Helberg with us today, the founder. Those founders whose visionary, enterprising, and inspired Vietnam veterans who, after returning home from their service and their war, formed this institution from nothing and made it flourish and serve. Without them, we would not be here. Thank you. We're here to thank the generous and pioneering donors to the project's capital campaign, the private citizens, foundations, and companies that recognized the need, helped us develop the vision, and contributed so generously to the capital campaign that built a $5.5 million private funding core upon which the public funding could build and leverage. Our $1 million contributors are here with us this afternoon. The Ruby W. and Lavon Parker Lynn Foundation for the naming of the 9th floor apartments, as well as the Colonel Ruby W. Lynn Veterans Dining Hall. Mr. William Lowell, trustee, thank you, sir. The Bernard M. Gordon Charitable Trust for the naming of the Sophia and Bernard M. Gordon Veterans Training School. Mr. and Mrs. Gordon, welcome and thank you. And thank you also who are with us this afternoon, many of the Leadership Capital Campaign donors, Stevie and David Spina, the Amelia Peabody Charitable Trust, Lori and Rod Rhoda, Stephen and Marianne Phillips, the Arbella Insurance Foundation, as well as the many members of our board of directors and so many other very generous philanthropic institutions, foundations, and individuals in the community. You can see their names throughout the building, and I hope you have a chance to do that. This project has been a transformation. It is a physical transformation of the New England Center's facility that both reflects and enables the transformation of services that our society and the center makes available to veterans and its citizens who face challenges in their lives. Challenges that in the past many times would result in years, decades, and tragically sometimes a lifetime of disenfranchisement, estrangement, and hardship, and the dehumanizing label of homeless. Today represents the delivery by the center and its project team on a pledge made more than 2 years ago to all of you, to all our public and our private funders and supporters, that we would steward and apply the generous funding and resources entrusted to us to deliver a world-class new facility. The center is also part of the fulfillment of a pledge made by this country and its citizens to those who serve. The pledge that in return for the service and risk and sacrifice of military service, this country will support veterans and stand by them regardless of what may happen after their service has been completed. The center will be a resource for veterans provided by the people of Boston and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to serve veterans for years and decades to come throughout the 21st century. Maybe most importantly, I believe this project serves as a model and template, an example of the best in public-private partnerships and how they can serve a changing veteran population in our community. It shows how a public-private partnership can effectively and efficiently create housing and service points, how such a partnership can rejuvenate legacy infrastructure to better serve this nation's veterans, and how community-based service providers can partner with government agencies to better adapt to changing veteran needs and design and deliver the best in housing, support, long-term care, health, wellness, and human services. Building upon and exponentially expanding the impact of the center's $5.5 million in private funding is a large and diverse capital stack of public and publicly sponsored financing. Almost $35 million in net construction and redevelopment funding. Veterans become veterans by serving the nation and the United States military. This New England Center does not limit its services to veterans from Boston or from Massachusetts. It is a national resource, and it is strongly supported by the federal government. Much of our annual funding, as well as the capital funding for this project, appropriately is resourced through Washington, D.C. The center could not have a more committed advocate and representative in Washington, a strong leader in support of veterans and their families, than our own Congressman Stephen Lynch. Congressman Lynch has been with and behind this project and the center's mission right from the start. He and his staff have remained in constant touch with us and the project team through the construction, and just as importantly, in the work and advocacy leading up to the construction. We are honored to welcome Congressman Lynch back to the center and thank him for his consistent and unflagging support. Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Stephen Lynch.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And I have to say, this place looks a lot better than the last time I was here. We had a winter storm that blew in here, and of course we've got our veterans living here, so it was a little bit of a panic. But Andrew, on so many occasions, has come to the rescue of our veterans, and yet again, he's doing it here again today. My colleagues in government, Governor Baker, Mayor Walsh, Speaker DeLeo, Senator Cianafori, Representative Aaron Michaelwitz, and also Representative Jerry Paracella. I also want to recognize someone we work with on a regular basis on veterans issues, Secretary Francisco Urena, who I first met in Iraq many years ago, and Commissioner Giselle Sterling, who do this work on a daily basis. They are really, they're the people on the ground, along with Tom Lyons, and I see our friend Gabe Gomez down there as well, who does wonderful work on our behalf. So thank you to all of you for the great work that you do. At the forefront of all this effort was really Governor Baker and Mayor Walsh and Speaker DeLeo. They were the ones that said the resources, we have to find the resources. And it really is this project is really a private and public partnership, a federal, state, and city partnership. And I'm happy to have played a small part in this as well. But I really think that without the leadership of Governor Baker and Mayor Walsh and Speaker DeLeo, this would not have happened. and it really speaks to their commitment to our veterans. This project is more needed than ever. I just came back 3 weeks ago from, I think it was my 18th trip to Iraq. And so I this time we were doing review of military operations connected to the liberation of Mosul, the city of Mosul. So typically I will ask, as a way of getting information and also making conversation with our men and women in uniform, I'll say to them, typically they'll get a small group, maybe 50 or 60 Marines or soldiers together, and I'll say, how many are here on their first tour of duty? And it's sort of a conversation I have with them, but also I'm taking in data to see how many are on their first, second tour of duty. So I ask, how many are on your first tour? And maybe out of 40, 50, there might be 8 on their first tour of duty. And I say, how many on their second tour of duty? And a few more hands go up. This last trip, 3 weeks ago, I got up to 9 tours of duty before I ran out of Marines. 9 tours of duty. So think about it. They're doing 9-month tours. This is his 9th, this young Marine, 9th tour of duty. When being on the battlefield becomes the norm, we have a problem. And the problem is oftentimes that the transition home is the outlier, that the normal pace and circumstances for that young soldier or Marine is the battlefield. And so we've seen tremendous difficulty in transitioning our young men and women home across the country. We've got elevated incidents of drug abuse. We've got elevated incidents of suicide among our sons and daughters who wanted nothing more than to serve their country. So this center, this New England Center and Home for Veterans, is really a state-of-the-art facility that is changing the way we welcome home our sons and daughters. Not only will it provide a home for 200 veterans, but also the education, the transition, bringing them back to what should be a normal civilian life. And we can do this. It's very difficult. We work a lot with the VA. I've got 3 wonderful VA facilities in my district. I've got Brockton, Jamaica Plain, and West Roxbury. And I'm a frequent flyer to the VA. We have a lot of things going on there. And I just want to say, I know I've read recently about criticisms of the VA. I have to tell you that the people inside the VA are mostly veterans, serving their brothers and sisters as veterans. And they dedicate their lives and their professions to providing the best care possible under the circumstances. And I just want to say that it's very difficult at times for the VA to distinguish what the hidden wounds are, the psychiatric trauma that our sons and daughters in uniform have experienced. It's difficult. TBI, traumatic brain injury might have a physical presentation, but sometimes the deeper psychiatric wounds are more difficult to diagnose. And so we need to get better at that. We've got to build protocols that will help us to more accurately diagnose the problem and then the treatment. But this place will help. This place will help enormously. The New England Center and Home for Veterans will help. This will be a gateway. This will be a way for us to smooth out that transition for that young person so that they feel welcomed and accepted within their own home, within their own country, within their own city and town. And I want to give special thanks to my colleagues in state government, Linda Docina-Fori and Representative Michael Witz and Paracella. I serve in a legislature with the other 49 states. And I'm very happy and proud to say no one does better for our veterans when they come home between benefits and having a veteran service officer in every single city and town in this state. No one does it better than Massachusetts on behalf of our veterans. So God bless you all for being here. God bless the building trades that helped this place look so great. And may God continue to bless these United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for coming.
This project is the result of a large team of resource providers and supporters, but far and away the largest and most important of those supporters is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. More than $23 million of the almost $35 million of capital funding for this project was provided directly by or directed to the project by the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. An additional $4 million of Massachusetts state historic tax credits has been allotted by the Secretary of the Commonwealth, Secretary William Galvin. Massachusetts leads the nation in its support for veterans, and it is hands-on, substantive leadership in action. And that leadership starts at the top. Governor Baker and his administration, through the engaged leadership of his team, including Secretary Arena and all the members of the administration, have made this facility a reality. Thank you, Governor. Your leadership is truly leadership and in action and leadership of deeds. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce the Honorable Charles D. Baker, Governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you, Andy. Well, thank you very much, Andy, and to you and your team, and to Joe, and to the members of the board. I just want to say congratulations on a job and on work extremely well done. And to the folks here who made up the private participation in this, which is very significant, almost in some respects, almost unprecedented. I want to say thank you to all of you. And since I know several of you actually served in the military as well, I'm sure you feel in some way like this is an opportunity for you to give back. And in this particular case, we are all giving back to the best of our abilities to a group of men and women who deserve our support. I think about this today, and I think about this as our opportunity to answer the call from those who answered the call for us. And this particular facility, which has been doing yeoman's work long before it was fashionable or popular to do this sort of work and provide this sort of service, especially on behalf of the men who came home from Vietnam. To be able to stand here today, having been in and out of this building, well, dating back to when I worked for Governors Weld and Cellucci in the 1990s, this is a little slice of heaven compared to what this place once was. And I think in some ways that's because of the commitment that so many people and so many organizations made to this. And Andy, you're kind to point out the role that the Commonwealth played here, but there were a lot of hands in this one. Secretary Mary Lou Sutters from Health and Human Services, Jay Ash from Housing and Economic Development, Crystal Cornegay from the Department of Housing and Community Development, Tim Sullivan from Mass Housing. You don't create that kind of support for a project like this without having a lot of people involved. And Congressman, while I very much appreciate the nod to the state and to the city, this doesn't happen without the federal government, and it doesn't happen without people like you who never forget and are always there to stand up for and advocate on behalf of the men and women in uniform. And the fact that you've taken 18 trips to Afghanistan kind of says it all in some respects with how you feel about the men and women who serve. So thank you very much for all that you've done over the years. You know, the Speaker of the House and I yesterday attended an announcement for a joint state-federal investment in building a new Quigley building at the Chelsea Soldiers Home property in Chelsea. And the way that you should think about this is it's like the way they built Gillette Stadium, where there was a parking lot and a stadium. And so they built a new stadium on the parking lot and then tore down the old stadium and put the parking lot there. And that's exactly what we're going to do there, which is we're going to build a new Chelsea Soldiers Home facility for the men and those who are served by that facility on the parking lot, and then take down the old building and put the parking lot there. And this is another one I go way back with to my time working in the 90s. And I'll tell you something, the facility there may be old, okay, but it is clean and it is full of life and full of support and full of a sense of positivity you just don't see in a lot of other places. And on some level, I take tremendous satisfaction in the fact that when that project's done, the men and the women who are ultimately served by that site and who work in that site are going to be able to work in a facility that will stand the test of time and be there for decades and decades to come to ensure that we deliver on the commitments that we need to make to the men and women in uniform here in Massachusetts. And the final thing I just want to say is, I remember when we broke ground here, which was literally like just about 24 months ago. I mean, when I look at this picture, I get this haircut every year to raise money for charity. And I looked at that picture and I said, that's like 2 weeks after I got it last year. It's about 2 weeks after I got it this year. Not a good look. But a good cause. And I can't tell you how special, what a special statement this is about how we feel collectively here in the Commonwealth and here in the city about both supporting through housing and shelter and services the men and the women who wear the uniform and who stand up for us and keep us free. And I really do look forward to getting to the point going forward here, and I don't think it's that far away, where every man and every woman who's worn the uniform has a bed they can call their own and the support services they need to find their way back into productive participation in society. And for all the work that's been done before us, we don't have that far to go, and I really do think at this point this is something we should make clear we deliver on over the course of the next few years. Thank you.
There is no city that is a better place for veterans to live, or for anybody to live, than here in Boston. The center is proud to be part of Boston and a resource integral to the city of Boston. Within a few hours of becoming mayor, Mayor Walsh came to the center for a visit and a tour and to show his support. He keeps coming and keeps helping. Boston is the premier city in this country, large or small, in great measure because of the hands-on, proactive and listening leadership of the mayor and his team. The New England Center has its strongest advocate and closest neighbor in Mayor Martin J. Walsh. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Walsh.
Thank you, Andy, and I'm proud to be your closest neighbor. I want to thank you for your great work. I want to thank Brian. I want to thank Joe. I want to thank the board. Everybody in this room today that had something to do with this, thank you. Whether it was write a check, write a big check, write a small check, volunteer time, serve our country, whatever it was, thank you very much for what you've done. It's an honor to be here today with the governor and with Stevie Lynch. I remember when Stevie Lynch went to his first trip in Iraq. I remember he called me up and he said, I'm going to Iraq, and this was back in 2002. And you know, since that time, Stevie Lynch has constantly been one of the strongest advocates, not only for our veterans, but for our active military men and women. So I want to thank you, Congressman, for what you continue to do. Congressman Lynch talked about the great benefits of Massachusetts to our veterans. And I'm proud to say, myself and Linda Docina-Fori, when she was in the House, Speaker DeLeo was one of the people that continued to make sure that that happened. And I want to thank the Speaker for his continued support for our veterans, not just as Speaker of the House, but as a state representative prior to that. His commitment to the veterans and the veteran community is parallel and second to none. So thank you, Mr. Speaker, for what you've done. And everyone else, I'm not going to go right down the line because I could go on and on about all of you about something, but thank you. There's two people that I'm going to talk about in a second, but again, Andy, thank you, you and Brian, and what you've done here. As Andy says, I've come into the center a lot, and we do. We're the next door neighbor, and it's important to come into the center. This is a special place, as you all know. This very space that you're sitting on, I think on Saturday night will be reopened to have another quiet gathering for a little bit of a one day at a time experience, strength, and hope. And sometimes I'll come to this place and just sit here and watch, and a lot of the veterans that live here will come down, and people off the street, and it's incredible to be here. I want to thank the team in the city, Sheila Dillon, Tom Gannon, Giselle Sterling, for all of their great work on this project. Tommy's over here. Thank you, Tommy, for being the project manager on this project. 2 years ago, as the governor said, it just seems like yesterday, roughly almost 2 years ago this time, we did the groundbreaking. And in that 2 years, I've had the chance to come in here and watch this building be transformative. If you look around and you look up at the ceiling and you see some of the work on top of the columns, that's stuff you see in fancy hotels in Boston. And they were able to uncover it here to show dignity to our veterans. If you look at the floor was uncovered as well. And again, another thing you see in our fancy hotels that they try to preserve, and we're able to preserve for our veterans, for the great work that the construction companies has done. I want to thank all of them for their great work. The center is a long-standing partner with the city. We are thankful, certainly, for their commitment to our veterans and our veterans community. Their commitment is demonstrated every single day. More than 1,500 veterans are assisted every single year through these front doors. And 250 veterans reside here every night. During the past 2 years of construction, as was said, as Andy said, it was remarkable that they were able to keep the center open and not lose one night of allowing a veteran to stay here or one service that was provided to a veteran. That's a testament to the staff in this facility. So I want to thank them for that. Right around Thanksgiving, I had a chance to do a tour with Andy to look at the 37 new state-of-the-art units and the 60 renovated units upstairs. And I don't know if there's going to be a tour today, but if you have a chance to go up and see, they didn't miss anything. They took care of all of our veterans. Any veteran that will be staying here will be able to live in a beautiful renovated or brand new house. There's also a floor dedicated to the women, our women veterans, something that's extremely important today, and the thoughtfulness of that. The design of the units and the sustainability of the units. And actually, some of the units have a beautiful view of City Hall, the building. I am sorry to the veterans on that side of the building. But I will try and fix it up for you a little bit. But also, not only the people living here, but the education, the employment, and other services that are here. One of the things that I was asked a question the other day, what's our greatest accomplishment in the first year as being mayor of the city, or the first 3 years? And, I didn't have to think too much about it. First Lady Michelle Obama called on mayors around the country to end chronic veterans homelessness. We took her up on that challenge. I called Sheila Dillon, and we said, okay, let's take her up on this challenge. And one of the first people that I called, and we called, was this gentleman to my left. And we said, we just answered this call. And what are we going to do? And we put a bunch of people in the room. Billy McGonigal was there. Linda Downey was there from Pine Street Inn. And we took on the challenge, and we said, okay, we're going to do this. The center was a critical part of making this possible. To date, in the city of Boston, with the help of partners, we've housed over 832 homeless veterans in our city and in the greater Boston area. We have successfully ended chronic veterans homelessness in the city of Boston. No, that doesn't mean that our work is done. Two things. One, with our veterans, we have to continue to work with our veterans every day to let them know that they are worthy of an apartment and they are worthy of a life of having a home. And we're going to continue to work with them with this very special home to do that. And secondly, we are also on our way to ending all chronic homelessness by the year 2018 in the city through a program called Boston's Way Home. Our actions to end veterans' homelessness and chronic homelessness in the city of Boston. Now, when a veteran becomes homeless, we quickly get them in our system and we put them on a pathway towards housing services. We couldn't have done any of that without an incredible partner like Andy and this center. Lastly, I want to speak about the importance of this new building being downtown. It's a strong symbol that we will never let our struggling veterans go unnoticed. We will never forget their needs, and we will never put their sacrifice on the back burner. Our veterans remain our top priority, and nothing will ever change that. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
The center is more than a state or city resource. It is a regional and a national service provider. Yet it can only function as one because of the unparalleled resourcing and funding provided by the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And that funding and resourcing comes through the state's budget. Veterans and the center have no stronger advocate, no more committed leader and champion on Beacon Hill or anywhere than the Speaker of the House. Speaker DeLeo has unflaggingly supported the initiatives of the Veterans and Federal Affairs Committee and ensures the financial support and viability of the New England Center. We are honored to have him here this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Robert A. DeLeo, Speaker of the House.
Thank you, Andy, for that extremely kind introduction. And when I walked in here today, all I could say was, wow. And that's not for that commercial workout world, by the way. But having been here on a number of occasions and always appreciating the fact in terms of the help and the assistance, whether it's in mental health or because of physical ailments or education, all the good work that is done in this building, to see the changes and the new structure here is truly breathtaking. So congratulations to you and to all those who have anything to do in making sure that it was done and done so well. I'm so pleased to be joined, first of all, I want to mention some other elected officials who are here, who also are very important in making sure that we have the support of our veterans in the Commonwealth. My state senator, by the way, Joe Boncore, is here. Welcome, Joe, the chairman of Housing for the Senate. From the great city of Everett, Representative Joe McGonigal is here. And the other chair of Housing on the House side, Representative Kevin Honan, is here as well. You know, Massachusetts is known for so many things. And as was stated earlier a number of times in terms of those subjects of which we were always considered the #1 state in the country. As a matter of fact, as been told a number of times, you know, being considered as the #1 state in the country in terms of being as the place to live. And we often talk about, obviously, our importance in education. We often talk about the importance of innovation, Governor, which you reminded me of yesterday, and so many other things. But what I have always been most proud of the fact is that we continue to lead the country in terms of the programs that we provide for our veterans and continue to do that. And as was alluded to by the mayor, you know, when I became a speaker, because of the people like here to my right and some of the folks that I have just introduced, there is not one session that goes by where we here in Massachusetts don't do something for our veterans. So not only are we #1, but we're increasing our status as #1 in this country. And And I can tell you that's something that we're going to continue to do. I am really humbled to be here in the presence of people like Congressman Lynch, who has been such a leader for this state in Washington, and especially for our veterans. And to be here with Governor Baker also. Many of those improvements in terms of our veterans really would not have been possible without the support of Governor Baker. And Mayor Walsh, I'm going to take him back to his better days when he was a rep. And I can tell you was such a wonderful leader when it came to veteran issues, and obviously he's showing that the same now as mayor. And Senator Forey, again, in her better days as a rep before she became a senator, was also very important relative to her leadership role for Veterans Affairs. Chairman Paracella, an amazing gentleman who was not only the former chair of Veterans Affairs and Veteran Services in the House, but is also still an active member of our military. Thank you very much for serving our country. But the New England Center and Home for Veterans is such an important part of this great city. It provides a place to stay for so many who otherwise would not have a place to spend the night. More importantly, this center provides a place of solace and camaraderie for those who have answered the nation's call to fight for freedom and to keep us safe. The new center provides new homes, private apartments for 37 veterans. These brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, and women, and Marines have performed their duties and paid a price for each and every one of us. The least that we can do is to make sure that they have a clean, safe place to stay when they need it. I'm especially pleased to say that in this instance, many will have a place to call their own. The members of the House and the Senate and the administration have over the years demonstrated their support for the work of this center. We are proud to see the changes that are in store for it. Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me to be here today. Thank you so much.
I had the honor of first meeting our senator, Senator Dorsina Forey, when she first came to visit and tour the center almost 6 years ago. I had only been here at the center for a few months at that time, and it became immediately obvious to me as I attempted to take her around and explain the services and some of the issues that veterans face, that she was educating me as opposed to what I had intended, where I would be telling her what we were doing here. She knows the needs of our citizens. She knows the needs of veterans. She knows the challenges that people face in life. The center, veterans, and the citizens of this district and the entire Commonwealth of Massachusetts have an incredibly strong and effective leader and advocate in the senator. We are so pleased to have her here again and always at our side and on our side. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to welcome Senator Dorsina Forey.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, President Andy McCauley, for inviting me again here today to be with all of you. What an incredible day, isn't it? An incredible, incredible event. I want to thank you and the board and your incredible team right here at the New England Center and Home for Veterans. I want to take a moment to recognize the staff that are here today, that work in this building every day. You show up day in and day out, and you're helping our families. And I say families because when you help the men and the women that come through these doors and give the supportive services that they need, you are helping our parents in this great Commonwealth. You are helping spouses in this Commonwealth. And you are helping our children in this great place we call Massachusetts. So it's an honor for me to be here today and to join an incredible group of true champions of our servicemen and women right here in our state. Congressman Stephen Lynch, incredible, incredible work on our behalf. Governor Charlie Baker, Mayor Marty Walsh, and Speaker Bob DeLeo. We all know that we are able to hold our positions in public service because of the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform. And we will continue fighting and providing services for them. That's what we're going to do. And so I am proud to represent Senate President Stan Rosenberg this afternoon and my colleagues in the Massachusetts State Senate. You know, many senators, we recognize Senator Joe Boncory. You know, I was the former chair of Housing when we were here 2 years ago doing the groundbreaking with Kevin Chim and Kevin Honan. But we also had Senator Jamie Eldridge, who's been a champion for this center. And also our very own, who could not be here today, Senator Michael Rush, who serves as the Senate Chair of the Joint Committee on Veterans and Federal Affairs. Senator Rush is a lieutenant commander in the Naval Reserves, and he just returned from a 2-week training mission in Southeast Asia. And I am proud to represent him and all of my colleagues with you here today. Our veterans are the best of what is the best our nation has to offer. They are the examples of service that all of us should try to embody. They signed up or were drafted, put themselves in harm's way to defend our freedoms and to protect us so that we can live in this great country, free from tyranny and accepting of all people. So I am proud that my children are growing up in a time when our heroes are appreciated and celebrated, that our state government works to provide them to the best of our ability with the services and resources they deserve. However, you all know this was not always the case. And so I'm grateful to the founders of this great place. There is a generation of soldiers who were drafted or volunteered to fight in the Vietnam War, that when they came home from this unpopular war and they did not see parades or memorials or gratitude that were owed by their fellow Americans. So let us never forget their sacrifice, and let us always keep them in our hearts. And so I'm honored as the state senator for the 1st Suffolk District to represent a neighborhood in Boston called South Boston, where Congressman Lynch grew up, the first place in this country that had a Vietnam memorial put up, right here in Boston, in South Boston. So thank you to the New England Center and Home for Veterans. This is a home, a testament to our commitment, our gratitude, and our solidarity to the men and women in uniform who fought and continue to fight for us. We must continue to work harder to serve those who have put their lives on the line to serve us and to support their families. So I thank you all today. You know, thank you, the funders and the folks who contributed to the resources to make this building happen. But it's not just a building, it's a home. So incredible that the name was changed. It is a home for our veterans to give them the supportive services that they need, whether it's health care, helping them reintegrate and assimilate back into our great America, because this is a great country, but only because of our veterans and those that are still in active duty. So thank you all, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
This project and its funding, not surprisingly, has been very complex. We have had the opportunity to work with a number of wonderful financial institutions, supporters, and backers. We have received incredible support from every single one of them. At the center of that team has been the project's primary equity and tax credit sponsor and funder, City Community Capital. I would like to introduce Mr. Matthew Bissonette, the Northeast Regional Director for City Community Capital, this afternoon.
Andy, thank you. The good news is I'm the last speaker, and what I learned at an early age is if you're the last guy before a big crowd and food, keep it short and get out of the way, so I will do that. But we are pleased to be here today, and Andy, congratulations to you and your team. I'm the Northeast Regional Director for City Community Capital. We're the largest affordable housing lender in the United States. We did over $5 billion of lending last year, plus several additional billion in LIHTC investing. And we see hundreds of projects across the country. And you know, when you look at this and you look at the partnership and you walk the halls and you see the plaques for the private support and the governmental support and the financial support from financial industries, this really does rise to the top as far as a team effort, as well as the staff and the people here that are bringing this together, doing it as we call it checkerboarding, which is a euphemistic way to say what you've been dealing with for the last 2 years, moving people around and keeping things operated. So this is a tremendous project, and congratulations. We're just pleased and proud to have been a part of it. So I want to thank everyone that gave us the opportunity. And as I say, I'll keep it brief, and also, most importantly, thank our veterans for all they've done. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ribbon cutting this afternoon will proceed with 3 specific groups. The first group of our large and diverse team that has made this project a success. The first group will consist of our distinguished speakers from this afternoon, and Mr. Joe Albanese, and the Center's chairman of the board. Yeah. Yeah.